we got to talk and touch base about IATSE. Again, we were talking about it last week, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, also known as IATSE or IATSE. They are a group that spans 12 districts, including Canada, and they had a CBA dispute. These are always fun if you know, obviously, Hollywood, if you know sports leagues and everything. CBAs, collective bargaining agreements, super important for the rights of workers and labor groups and things like that. So with the contract coming due, there was a good beef between them, namely them, and the Alliance of Motion Picture and TV Producers. Okay, there's a lot of acronyms here. There's a lot of alphabet soup organizations that I'm really trying to keep straight with this thing. But it was going to be a strike situation on, was it the 18th? I want to say, was it the 18th?
It was Monday, this past Monday, so the 18th.
It's going to be this past Monday at 12:01 a.m. if a collective bargaining agreement or at least a tentative agreement was not in place. And yeah, they came up with something. I don't know if everybody loves it. I don't know if everybody's on board with it from what I've been reading, but they came up with something that's kind of halted the pressure of a strike, at least in the immediate future. Dominic, he's a little bit more of an expert on this. He's more well-read than myself on this. I'm turning it over to you, D, to further contextualize this.
Thank you. Full disclosure, I do have friends and family as members of IATSE, according to them, because they're all from Chicagoland. But in any case, yeah, so some of the details, I don't think the full details have been, the full thing, probably for legalese, has been released yet. But this article from Deadline does give us a glance at some of the key things here. For instance, increased wages for episodic productions. And you can see that there's tiers and stuff like that. It's welcome to the world of union work, where everything's kind of codified and everything's kind of in a neat little box. But that's how you make sure you don't get screwed over. Otherwise, you get those corner cases, and suddenly you find yourself working a lot more than you should for a lot less. But in any case, increased wages for miniseries, increased wages for long form streaming. That was a big thing, because obviously in the past several years, decade, you could easily say, streaming has become a gargantuan thing, a tour de force in the world of how we consume media, period. And the pandemic put that into the stratosphere, made it apparent to everybody. So the fact that they were able to get some codified benefits, some increased benefits for streaming is good in my opinion, because some classifications will receive increases of up to 30% of wages. Like these are significant, particularly if you're working some of the crazy hours. You could easily say Amazon level hours that some of these folks were working. Maybe not so much, because the words union and Amazon aren't even in the same continent, but at least not.
Well, these schedules were nuts if you've looked into these.
Yeah, exactly. I think another one was the big downtime between work. So before, it was you need 12 hours between when you can work for long periods of time. We're talking more than 8 hours, 14 hours. So being able to codify that and say, hey, if our guys are working 14 hours a week, they cannot work for another 12 to 14 hours, because that's like nurse level hours, which for the record should not be nurse level hours. We need more nurses and they need more representation, but that's beside the point. But yeah, it can get pretty intense. So these things, and there's a lot of IATSE members, some hot reactions on social media for now that are saying, oh, it's not enough. We need to strike now. But that's all really politics. So that's up for the IATSE leadership, which apparently Matthew Loeb has called it a quote, Hollywood ending. I don't know if in 2021 that's the right verbiage you want to use, but it does seem to be good. Again, it's down to the legalese. In the days and hours before a strike, there can be a lot of shiftiness. There can be a lot of bait and switch. There can be a lot of haha, we snuck this point in here that negates the last 12 pages or something like that. You see it all the time in national politics, local politics. You'll definitely see it in union politics as well, in negotiations. But it does look like, from what we're seeing now, is that this is going to hold, and that the strike will not happen, which again, hot takes on social media. It's like, God damn it. I really wanted to sing some Pete Seeger out on the Hollywood and Vine while holding up a sign for 12 hours in the rain, like that Kellogg, like that Chad, the Kellogg's striker who in a torrent, he was holding up a sign alone. It's like, good for you.
Yeah, I did see that image in the torrential like downpour.
Yeah. But you know what? The truth is that no one really wants to strike because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of economic risk for personal reasons. Thankfully, there's a lot of IATSE subsidies and a lot of other things that can help people along. But no one really wants to strike. They do want to work. It's just for good wages and good conditions. So at least in the immediate that we are seeing now, things do seem to be looking up, and it has demonstrated the power of organized labor, which has seen a spike since the pandemic, not just in entertainment, which, as we mentioned before on the show, entertainment, particularly Hollywood, is one of the strongest unions because it's front facing. It's literally the industry that delivers you everything you see on TV, the big screen, and now these days on computer screens as well with streaming and whatnot. In fact, just to demonstrate how deep this can go, it's not just movies and TV, but this could have gone. But theater as well, art galleries. When I was down in St. Louis with my girlfriend the other day, and just a few days ago, we were gonna go to a Van Gogh exhibit down by a mall in the St. Louis area, but we found out that those gallery workers were IATSE members, and if we had gone in, that would have been considered crossing the picket line, and rightfully so, because that gallery, apparently, according to IATSE, had brought in Canadian non-union workers from Canada down to St. Louis. So, you talk about how everything's so codified, everything's such this specific thing. Yeah, well, it goes both ways too. Nickel and dime you. That's what these rich, super rich people will want to do to you for every single cent and drop of sweat and blood that you're worth. So we will see how things, how the dust settles. We'll see how the cement dries. But it does seem like that things have come to a Hollywood ending. I would say a cleaner ending for now. But keep in mind, things can easily get messy if any one of these studios, any one of these companies turns their back or break deals or find some sort of loophole. Because no matter how many eyes you look at it, there's always some loophole and there's always some judge willing to really break it apart. So we'll keep our eyes on it because this is really historic. I know the strike didn't go through, but this is historic. 150,000 members. That's actually not that big compared to some other unions, but it is certainly one of the strongest, some of the most potent that you will see in America today.
And it would have had utterly devastating impacts, even if it just lasted a couple of days.
The Writers Guild strike would have been that was big, and that would have been peanuts compared to what this could have been.
Compared to this. Yeah. And there's a tweet I actually saw. I should have sent it to Joe so he could flash it on the screen, but I'll just read it really quickly because Dom summed this up really nicely and succinctly enough that I almost don't have anything to add. But John Rogers, he's a writer for a few different shows and whatnot, The Librarians, Jackie Chan Adventures, and a handful of things. He came out and tweeted because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of organizations or a lot of companies striking at this time. And he came out with something that's, honestly, kind of gobsmacking in a way when you just read it like this. He said, from IATSE to John Deere to Kellogg to Instacart, it's amazing how many of these labor actions are not asking industries that are making record profits to share those greater profits, but increase pay just enough or cut hours enough so the workers can live.
It's record profits in a pandemic. And yet you're seeing the ceiling of our quality of life, some for whatever reason lowering, not obviously because of the pandemic, but just in terms of our work isolated from the pandemic, it's incredible. So we will see how this goes. Part of me would have been very curious to see how extensive it would have been. We can only speculate, although again, who knows? These contracts, they apparently they're lasting for 3 years at least with the at least with some of the yearly salary wages. But you never know. These contracts. Well, again, we'll have to mull over some of the exact verbiage and details. I love Hollywood Reporter because they literally have a section. Hollywood Reporter, right? They have a section on their website dedicated to legal matters concerning Hollywood, which is so good because everyone loves to talk Marvel, everyone loves to talk James Bond, like us here. But the real stuff that matters, other than box office numbers and which director is getting in a Twitter fight with who, these are the things that really, really can affect how you consume media at all.
Oh man.
Really, really well done. Really well articulated. Really well articulated there, Dom. So appreciate you talking about that. Yeah, you kind of, like I said, you're connected to this story to begin with too. So you can offer up that insight as well.